Jacques de Molay, the Grand Master of the mightiest order in the world, is dragged out of his cell in cladded chains which have bitten away at his ankles and wrists. He knows what awaits him. The fire is lit, and he asks his executioner to face him to see Notre Dame in Paris. As the fire slowly licks away at his extremities, he mutters a spell of vengeance against the two men who sentenced him to death. Within the year, they both will be dead. Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. If you are already subscribed, welcome back. Today we'll be looking at part number 5 of the Knights Templar. So in this part, we will see the flaming death of the Grand Master, and with his death, the death of the entire order. So if you haven't seen part number 1 to 4 yet, go ahead, watch those first. The links are in the description of this video down below. And while you're there, you can also go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. You will notice something different about this video. If you prefer this format, let me know in the comment section. If you prefer the old format, let me know in the comment section. Now, let's get into this. When Jacques de Molay is made Grand Master in 1292, his order, the Knights Templar, is already in decline. It had been ripped away from its spiritual home of Jerusalem, and it lost its purpose. He struggled to find a new motive for the order. The order of the Knights Templar wasn't alone in this predicament. The Knights Hospitaller of St. John of Jerusalem, which still continues today, had a same situation. And the Pope Boniface VIII, as well as the King of France, Philippe IV, had an idea to link these two orders together, unify them, make them one. Now, with this possible merger in mind, Jacques de Molay was wondering what new direction the orders could go in. The Pope was thinking perhaps of a crusade, but this idea didn't really take hold within the orders, and they were both trying to find their feet in this new situation. However, more and more knights were arriving in France. The French King Philippe IV was getting a little bit concerned at how strong the order was, and he has 3 nicknames because of his multiple personalities: Philippe le Bel, Philip the Beautiful, Philip the Fair, and the Iron King. It is the Iron King's personality that the Order of the Knights Templar will have to endure when dealing with a king. Philippe IV and Pope Boniface VIII were always trying to one-up each other. They had an ongoing feud, and unfortunately for the Knights Templar, the French king was keen to use them as a pawn in their ongoing feud. The issue is the Knights Templar had a really big presence in the French kingdom, and the Knights Templar, of course, were headed by the Pope. They did have their own Grand Master, but their real big boss was the Pope. So Philip felt that he was always being restricted by the presence of the Knights Templar, as he was being watched and judged by the Pope, and he stated that he wants to be the emperor in his own kingdom. He wanted everyone, including the Pope and the Templars, to bend to his will and obey him. And if you go against him, well, there's only one way it could end for you: badly. Even for the Pope, he was captured, beaten, and eventually killed by Philip. On the morning of Friday, the 13th of October, 1307, Philip makes his move against the Knights Templar. He had been planning this operation for over a year. He knew where each Knight Templar was, which commentary they were staying at, and he unified his police forces and his military force. At the dawn, while the warrior monks were dressing for their first round of morning prayers, Philip had 600 Knight Templars simultaneously arrested by his forces. Now sure, Philip didn't want the order to undermine his rule, but he needed some reason to arrest them. So he had one of his ministers come up with some crazy allegations against the order, which were pretty far-fetched, such as worshipping pagan idols, blasphemously spitting on the images of Christ, having group fornication sessions with new recruits. Then there are some allegations that may have some truth behind them, but are grossly taken out of context, such as being arrested for homosexuality. There was a kiss between each knight when they are newly invested, a kiss on the lips. Now this is a medieval Catholic tradition of goodwill and peace, and not out of lust. Now Philip didn't care if these claims were truthful or not. Under medieval torture, anyone would confess to anything. Torture at the time was a part of the justice system. The idea was that God would give you the strength if you were innocent to resist the torture. Pre-torture, the answers the Knights were giving the court's questions were not the ones they were looking for, and post-torture, well, the courts got what they came for. The Knights admitted to being homosexuals. There were probably some homosexuals, but surely not everyone who said yes after torture were homosexuals. There were confessions of pagan idol worship, heresy, and the list goes on and on and on. The Pope stepped in to try and understand what was happening, and he made his own inquiries. We have an account from one knight who showed the Pope his broken bones, scorch marks, scars, and he said, "If they had asked me to kill God Almighty, I would kill him. If they had asked me to admit that I was Lucifer himself, I would admit it." The Pope saw it was clear that these accusations were groundless. However, nonetheless, the political game of chess had been won by Philip as the rumors of the Knights Templar spread around France and around Europe. In 1312, 5 years after the gathering of the information through torture, a council is convened in Vienne, south of France. The new Pope Clement V issues the bull called Vox in Excelsior, which revoked the bull giving the Knights Templar the papal support, which had been standing for nearly 200 years at this point. The Pope states with a sad heart he has been forced to declare that no one may enter the order. Acting as a Templar or wearing the mantle of the Templars will result in the person's excommunication. The French King Philip is happy with the outcome, and he continues on with his own inquisition of the Templars. Already dozens of knights have been executed through burning at the stake, and those numbers are only going to climb. When Grand Master Jacques de Moliere's time finally comes around after 7 years of imprisonment, the 70-year-old man is tortured into a confession and found guilty for heresy. On the 18th of March, 1314, the 23rd and final Grand Master of the Knights Templar, Jacques de Moliere, is dragged out of his cell to see sunlight for the first time in years. The old man is a shadow of his former self. In chains, he was placed on a pyre on a small island on the French river of Seine in Paris. Knowing his fate, he asks his executioner to face him towards Notre Dame. As the fire is lit and starts to slowly lick at his feet and legs, he closed his eyes and tilted his head up to the heavens and muttered something in French. "Let evil swiftly befall those who have wrongly condemned us. Pope Clement, King Philip, I summon you to the tribunal of heaven. Before the year's out, God will avenge us." A month later, the Pope dies, and on the 3rd of December of the same year, Philip died as well. With Jacques de Moliere's death, the order is faded into myth and legend. The idea of this curse, when he cursed the two men that sentenced him to death, spreads around, but I think it's more the public's imagination of getting one back on people who executed an innocent man and ending a noble order's quest. The curse is, of course, not the only legend that follows the death of Jacques de Moliere. Some say that European Templars escaped to Scotland, where the order continues today as an underground organization seeing world domination. Others say that the Knights fled to America, arriving 100 years before Christopher Columbus. Then there are, of course, the Knights' accounts of guarding mythical Christian relics like the Holy Grail, the Knights Templars' treasure, the bloodline of Jesus, and even starting Freemasonry. The fact is, though, after Jacques de Moliere's death, the Knights Templar were quickly forgotten about. There were other knightly orders around. Even today, there are large numbers of knightly orders that still exist, like the Order of the Bath, Order of San Marziano Lazzaro, Constantine and St. George, Order of the Thistle, etc., etc. It's only in the 18th and 19th century that historians start to put the accounts together and make up the Knights Templar story. And they were reporting on events that happened hundreds of years before they were even alive. So there wasn't much to go on. And when there wasn't something to talk about, well, that led to the oral traditions and myths and legends taking precedent over the facts. In recent years, Hollywood, with Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code and Indiana Jones' Last Crusade, have secured the Templar legends and mythology. But, like I said in part number 1, here we stick to the facts. Now, I really hope that you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you want to watch next. And if you like this new format, like, comment, subscribe, the more you know.